He said, you done seen the dead get out of the grave. You done seen folks eat when there was no food, just a couple of fish, a few loaves of bread. You done seen hundreds eat. Notice what he's telling them.
Lepers cleansed.
You've seen the blind
See.
the cripple walk. You've seen it. So now he's telling them. And see, he had to draw. See, Robert, they were looking at it. They were looking at it from a different set of lenses. And now he's telling them, because we're getting ready to hit it. He said, behold, I send the promise. Now this. He said, spiritually, look, I send the promise of my Father unto you. But I want you to wait a while, tarry in the city of Jerusalem until you be endued with power from on high. Because their power
We get them killed.
right. You got to be filled with the Holy Ghost. Filled with the Spirit of God. Isn't that something? Robert, so now, if you think about that, and I hate to tell you this, but I look at the news, and I sit there and I examine the news, and the eye's telling you to take your little boys at a certain age and get them inoculated for the parvo virus, and come on now. You get your little daughters inoculated. And in essence, if you think about it, it's almost saying they will have sex, so you better go ahead and get them inoculated now. Am I right? Well, what about the days of abstinence? Huh? Now, if you think about this, and I'm going right here, Robert, what has happened to the days of us? Because we didn't have all that back in our day, did we?
Nope.
What has happened to the promise of God? To live according to the way God would have us to live. To act in a way that God would have us to act. Now, does that mean you're not going to be persecuted? Surely. You're going to be talked about, ostracized, ridiculed. But you got to hold on to God's what? Promise. See, so in essence, Robert, what had happened is he was getting ready and preparing them for his ascension. Isn't that heavy? So he never did anything that he didn't prepare them for. I'm really getting you. See, I'm really getting it. Because when you had this picture of the storm in your house, you can't say that God wasn't getting you ready. Oh, you didn't hear that. God doesn't do anything that he don't get you ready and prepared for. Now, the key is are you spiritually looking? Sometimes we hear what we want to hear. Before we close, we see what we want to see. And then when we enter into a situation, we say, why me, Lord?
Get me out.
Get me out of here. But wasn't he preparing a way for you the entire time so that, because remember now he has two wills, submissive will and permissive will. Huh? So even going in, we should have been stronger knowing that we were about to enter something. Isn't that heavy? You see, this message about the promise of God, if you think about it, Robert, is real deep and it's real heavy because we have to put ourselves, in closing, we have to put ourselves almost to where the disciples were. I know we can't physically and not even spiritually, but metaphorically we can. if Christ was to make his imminent return right now. And see, we don't know how he's going to do it. You don't hear me. Could be a nuclear bomb, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
In the twinkling of an eye, we'd be changed. Am I right or wrong? Some going to be afraid, aren't they? Think about what I'm saying. The promise of God, now more than ever in the history of the world, we should believe in the promise of God. And Robert, when you believe in it with your heart, your mind, and your soul, see, it's not about money, how much money you have, not about how many cars you drive, not about where you live, not about what you have or what you don't have. It comes down to one thing. Have I accepted Jesus Christ in the pardoning of my sins? And only the individual can ask that. Now, before we close today, we're going to say another prayer that somebody out there who've heard this message will accept Jesus in their life. You see, Robert, this announcement for information that we're giving today, it had already been given by the prophets. But when he came on the scene, nobody had ever think about this. Who in times past had raised the dead?
Never.
Who had made the cripple walk? The blind to see? Feed the multitude?
Convert a tax collector.
Somebody who had an issue of blood touched the hem of his garment, because that's where the oil would flow down in the bottom of the robe, and that's the anointing. Nobody never touched the Pharisee and got healed. Well, Robert, why didn't they believe? See, this is the essence of what we're talking about.
What more did they want to see or hear than what they got?
What more do we need to see today, Robert?
Raise Lazarus from the dead.
What else do we need to see today to believe in the promise of God?
Well, apparently, I love the way this story ends, and this is what he says. When he led them out of the vicinity of Bethany, he lifted up his hands, and you can see him, and he blessed them.
That's the ascension.
Then, while he was blessing them, he left them and was taken up into the heavens. Then they worshipped him and returned to Jerusalem with great joy. And then they stayed continually at the temple praising God.
Well, let's go back. Let's say this. Because he had to do the same thing to them that he told them to do to others. He had to remind them of the good news. Isn't that something?
Absolutely. But once they saw it, they got it, and he picked up and he left. Now, what this reminds me of, the symbolism and the picture. On this side of the river, they were mad, angry, trying to kill Moses, and not very confident. But once he led them across the river, Moses hands up, right? Hands up again. Out they went, they get to the other side. And once they got to the other side, now they're saying God is our deliverer. They weren't saying that on the other side.
Well, even when they went through, when they crossed over through the sea and got over to the other side, they got wayward. That's why they had to go round and round and round into a circle. Once you accept the promise of God, you don't have to wander anymore. See, the Bible said this, I didn't say this. Any man try to find his life,
He'll lose it.
shall lose it. But any man loses his life in Christ shall do what?
Find it.
See, that's the whole key. So the key is right now, Robert, are we willing to let go and let God? Let go of this world and take a hold of the promise. The promise is, Reverend, what is the promise? He's coming back. All of this of where we are is temporal. This isn't permanent. And I say this because you and I share a lot of things in common. My dad passed before your dad. And your dad has passed on. Okay? Robert, you never really thought, and I should tell you that I said, Robert, you're fortunate. I said, realize that one day you're going to go see your mother and your dad isn't going to be there. How many times did I tell you that? I said, sit down, listen to his stories, sit there, because one day you're going to go, Robert, and he won't be there. Robert, one day you're going to go and your mama's not going to be there. See, it's one thing like I told your secretary when I came. I told her, I said, listen. I said, two things we never think about.